Oh no,
I'm dying.
Rob has the Rona,
Ah,
the Corona. All right, everyone. This is the Masculine Geek Random Friday broadcast. Why? Because we can. And
because fuck you. That's why.
there you go. Rob has spoken, and that's what you get. So,
Well, I'm going to say tonight.
That's pretty much it. Yes. So we are here. We're just going to have some random discussions, as usual. Fly by the seat of our pants. Maybe a few focused things. We'll see what happens.
Dude, I didn't send this out. A website that
You what?
there is a website out. 1 second, sorry. There is a website out there that has all these Nintendo or arcade games that you can play for free online. Now, I've tried playing them.
Oh, it's an emulator, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, like Russian Attack or Avenger, Defender, 1942, Galaga, all that other stuff. Now, the one downside is I'm not really used to playing some of those games with a keyboard, and I have a laptop. I don't have a regular keyboard, so I don't really like the way it works. But I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, since we're stuck in our houses, and the only game that works on my freaking Xbox Live that I got for free was Call of Duty Black Ops. So, and yeah, there's not some of these games. There's just not a whole lot. If you want to play online, but that game is 10 years old, and so, I could always go back and play Lord of the Realms 2, which is 22 years old, and that's
there's a lot of old games on Steam too. You just tap that, and I forget how much you have to pay, but like you can, if you like sort of D&D type games, you can check out Neverwinter Nights, which that's something that Atham played, and there's also Icewind Dale, the first Baldur's Gate, things like that. So
there's some games that still hold up online, or at least they just hold up on the game. What's kind of crazy is I have to play Lord of the Realms 2 on my old laptop that I've had since college. I think it was 2005, 2006, and that has outlasted 2 other laptops that I've had. I've had like 3 since. And it's outlasted 2 of them in terms of its use, like my ability to use it. I also use it to play this game called Freedom Fighters. I think I've talked about it before. That doesn't work on any of the other computers. It's just crazy how,
It's kind of a dumb name when you think about it. What do they fight? Freedom?
It used
like a firefighter.
It was called something.
Fires, but
yeah, it was I don't like the title, but they had like Sons of Liberty, Battle for Liberty Island, or they kept changing the name, but it was a really cool game. Awesome soundtrack. If you have not heard the soundtrack, go to YouTube, click in Freedom Fighter soundtrack, and listen to that. It's one of the best video game soundtracks outside of Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor, I think, takes the Medal of Honor Frontline 2001. I think is probably the best video game soundtrack because it was a symphony. And it's one of the best that I've ever heard, since we're talking about video game stuff. So yeah, that's kind of my latest geek stuff that's been going on.
Okay. Yeah, I just updated my Steam account, and I'm going to be playing Icewind Dale or Neverwinter, which I updated.
Yeah,
I'm not logging in. I think it's Icewind Dale.
Yeah.
I have the original disc somewhere too, the installed discs. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. How about you, Rob? What have you been doing to it is yes, Juan, it is indeed Friday. So Rob, what have you been doing lately in your fortress of Robitude?
I have been working. My work is where, like everybody kind of knows, they laid off half my workforce. It kind of, in the beginning of this thing, within the last 2 weeks, they laid off 50%. And we at the branch are kind of like, and even the regional manager who was in town the other day was like, maybe corporate was a little hasty. So they're trying to figure out a way to maybe bring a couple of guys back in to justify it to the corporate overlords. Well, because I mean, we've got a lot of accounts that are suspending and pausing their service as this thing goes on. And I get that. But like today, to give you an idea, we had 5 guys today to service all of the customers that are still going.
How many do you usually have?
Full force is between, on a Friday, is between about 18 to 23.
Yeah.
We had 5 guys.
What's kind of crazy about that is it reminds me of my days in print journalism, where I was covering right now I cover Washington State as a whole, but there's no specific areas where it's like we've kind of focused because there's just me. I'm a one man writing.
One-man show.
One-man show, yeah. And whereas when I was covering a city, you know, like you're expected to cover everything. And one time I was covering a city of 84,000 people. Well, that means you got to write about crime. You got to write about all the accidents. You got to write about city council. You got to write about how state politics are impacting transportation. You got to write about the economics, the business. You got to write about the arts. You got to write about the cultural stuff. You got to write about important people, history, like all this stuff. And there's way too much going on in a city of 84,000 people for one guy to cover. You're not going to be able to do that. So the understaffing thing is something that was always present at some of the jobs that I was working. And it is really frustrating because they expect the same, just like the demand by people, they demand or expect the same amount from you. And I'm assuming that's the same case with Rob, where they expect, what's going on? They expect the same amount from you, or at least I'm kind of curious, maybe it's more of a question, but they want the same amount of work done for the lower workforce.
Oh yeah, it's going to be interesting when all of this kind of ends, because I think you're going to see it be a lot like the 2008 bubble when the housing bubble happened. I think you're going to see a lot of people, a lot of jobs where they're shedding people right now.
Yeah.
That when they come back, some of those people, I'd say actually quite a few, are not going to have a job to come back to, even though they've been told they would, because things are going to change. They're going to tighten the belts. They're going to, get lean, whatever it may be. And so there's going to be a glut of unemployed looking for jobs, just like back in the 2008 time period. And companies will be able to pick and choose who they want, and they'll want you to do it for less.
Yeah. Rob, it's a old movie, and it's probably going to be a cheesy movie for you, but a movie that when you're describing that comes to mind is a movie called The Roaring Twenties with James Cagney. He is a World War I vet who comes back home in New York, and he's trying to get his old job back. And his boss says, "I can't hire you." And he goes, "Well, what was all that about how, there'd be a job waiting for me after I got back from Europe?" And he goes, "Times have changed, people aren't driving as much, I can't," he's trying to get a job as a mechanic or a taxi driver or something like that. But it's just interesting how things really haven't. Now, that was a recession that didn't last very long, as opposed to the Great Depression, which lasted a long time. But a lot of the same dynamics are at play. I think that's one of the possibilities. Another possibility is and I'm not trying to derail and have us talk about this for the rest of the night, because I don't really want to do that, but one way to hide unemployment numbers is by getting people into the military. And one of the ways to get people into the military is to have a conflict. So I'll just leave it at that and say that's another possibility for them to deal with the huge unemployment, is to just throw everybody into the military. And people will say, well, they're not physically fit. You can't have a fat ass go fight in the front lines. No, you'll just put them in front of a desk and say, press this button to go blow up a bunch of people in a country you've never been to, because there's a drone there that you're remote controlling. It's 9,000 miles away. Like, that's going to be how it's going to be for a lot of these people. We're going to go send the young, physically fit guy who's got his act together. We're going to go send him to get blown up by an IED somewhere.
And let the fat ass remote control the drone.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy that can't throw the grenade or do
until the Chinese shut it down because they've infected everything with their viruses and spyware. So, not trying to derail.
Too late.
All right.
So how you holding up, TJ? Otherwise, good.
I mean, yeah. My main thing is just, one of the downsides. I say this a lot, and so just I'm gonna stop saying it. But when I lived on the west side, I had access to a lot of lower elevation mountains to go hike. Now I don't. Now they're mostly just really they're not accessible most of the year because of the snow. So I can't go hiking there. And the other problem is they've closed the forest road. Bypass their signs, and I'm going to. So just a teaser for this weekend. I'm gonna exercise my rights. My rats.
The rats.
My rats. But it's just hard to go for a walk or do it, like with the gym closed. That's kind of been the biggest thing for me, because that was my kind of outlet, was going to the gym. I live in a rural community, and so there's just I can't just walk across the street, and also businesses would be closed. But other than that, I'm doing okay. Just like I said in the article I wrote for Masculine Geek, I'm just using this as an opportunity to reset a lot of things. And so for people who are listening, I would recommend you do the same thing. And probably the most difficult part of it is going to be stuff that you should have reset a long time ago. And so it's going to be more painful than it could have been, but you got to get it done. It's going to happen sooner or later, right? Whether it's you're eating too much, you're a fat ass, you need to lose weight, you've got some bad habits you got to kick, you're a chain smoker, there's something that you want to get good at and you just never bothered to take the time. Well, now you have the time, so take advantage of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are creatures. We all are creatures of habit. So we'll see what comes out of this as far as individual accomplishments. I think we just worry about ourselves.
Right. I would say I guess this is an opportunity for people to just,
But this is an opportunity for us. I'm not worried. I mean, not that I don't care about the guys watching and listening. I obviously do, but the world at large can go fuck itself.
Yeah.
Fundamentally speaking, and that's what I mean. I'm talking about this niche, obviously not, because I think everybody that's in this chat, everyone who's watching, for the most part, is taking care of their own shit.
Yeah.
We're essentially preaching to the choir. So, I mean, we're just, and that's why I asked what you guys were doing. How you guys are holding up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm holding up just fine.
Good.
I got my firewood. I got my wine.
I got my D&D. One of these days, I'm going to play.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of old TV shows that I've been watching, and I'm looking up at the movies on my shelf. So yeah, I mean, it's been fun. Like that's kind of weird. Kind of the weird thing is, like, I don't really know what it's like to be a normal person impacted by this, because I'm not married. I'm not married to somebody I can't stand, like a lot of American men. So I don't have to deal with somebody in the house all the time with me that I don't like. And then I don't have any kids, so I don't have kids who are here that are usually at school. So it really hasn't changed my life a whole lot. It's just amplified stuff that was already there, I guess is the way of putting it.
Gotcha.
And I work remotely, for people who don't know.
That's right, you do.
Yeah. Sounds like you.
Yeah.
Check the MG Twitter DM, yay or nay.
Yay or nay?
I have to go look at my Twitter DMs.
So Sub Houston's got duct tape. Oh boy.
I just sent her a message back that I've got that and more. Go on your show for.
Well, you've seen her being the Picasso, right? Where she's done her duct tape editions.
Yeah. I've seen a few. I would like to be able to come into your show for 5 minutes wearing a neon. Absolutely, Doc. Come on.
Who's coming on?
I'm not telling you. Shh. If you didn't catch that, then.
Oh, I heard Doc.
What's up, Doc? Meh.
Meh.
Hang on, let me.
Did we? Well, it's not Aaron Clary, right?
No, we're not inviting that jackass.
Well, no, I was gonna say because if it's Aaron Clary, fuck him. No,
I know he was already on Wednesday, stealing all the loot.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously,
dick.
Here's what's going to happen. One day he's going to be looting one of the bodies, and I'm
going to set him on fire.
You set him on fire. Hang on. You set him on fire, and I'll punch him twice in the face with my huge half-work fists.
There you go.
No, he's going to go search one of the bodies, and it's going to have a bomb on it, and it's going to blow him up.
Well,
nah.
Not in the D&D world, unless it's a magical bomb.
Yeah, and
we're gonna have to talk to Drew about that.
Yeah, we need to loot his body.
Exactly.
We need to go trader on sled.
Weird, Rob.
We need to go trader on sled.
Right.
That's what needs to happen. I'll just set him on fire. When he's busy dealing with like 3 or 4 dudes with his bow or whatever he's using, his crossbow, I'm just going to turn around and burning hands on him. You know, I'm just going to start unleashing shit.
I love how Aaron the other night sends a picture of this really cute girl, right, Ingrid Bergman, and is like trying to shame me for thinking that she's cute. Right? You guys remember the Twitter message?
No.
Well, from last. Oh, never mind. No, it's like there was 3 people. Were you not a part of that, Rob?
I may have not been. If I was, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, you probably weren't paying attention.
What's that?
It's the one where I sent the picture of Aaron dressed as the Mexican wrestler.
Oh yeah. Aw.
Hey, I'll be right back, guys. I got to do something real fast, so I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Right. He's got to do a prostate cancer exam.
Go touch your swimsuit area.
Oh my gosh.
Indeed. All right, who's this?
So, another one I gotta do is I gotta watch the G.I. Joe stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. Now that's did you say that's hang on, did you say that's on YouTube?
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, I was watching parts of the first one, the first episode, and one of the problems is once you've watched the Batman animated series, you kind of, it's like drinking a really good whiskey. You really can't go back to the cheap stuff, right?
You do have to tap into that little boy in you and go, all right, well, let me suspend my disbelief and remember when I did like this, because I know you're talking about. Well, it's like you want to continue to like it, but now you've got these other things to compare it to. Was that?
Oh, just that came off a little weird.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, never mind. The chat will do it for me.
Probably well, they heard it too. We were talking over each other, TJ.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, we're talking over each other. See? Oh.
At least we're not a sissy like Aaron Clary. See?
Oh, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an interesting. Kind of. I'm trying to think of like all the different choices that I have to watch. For yeah, dude, one. I'm kind of just, I don't know. A part of me is trying to, I don't know how to process the idea that people don't have money saved up as backup. Like, maybe it's just because I don't know. Like, I'm trying to be generous, but I assume the worst will happen. Yeah. So I plan for that. I don't have a plan A, B, and B. I have a plan C, D, and E. Like, there's backup plans and contingencies to the backup plan. So when people tell me that they don't have any saved up or they don't have any money, like emergency savings, it's kind of like them telling me, they don't have a house, but they have a car or something.
Yeah, every man and woman should have at least $5,000 money they can get their hands on immediately.
Right. Yeah. Well, they said something like how the average, like a huge chunk of Americans don't even have $500 in an emergency.
It's very sad.
And I'm trying. Now, I understand that that's probably very specific to people who are impoverished or on government welfare. I get that. But I think that there's also a lot of seemingly wealthy people who have mortgaged everything they have is debt based.
Yeah.
So that's possible as well. So I don't know, but I just, from a financing fiscal perspective, I'm always thinking you always have enough money. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess
I get what you're saying.
I don't get people's thinking on that. Like, if
wait for it. 1, 2, 3.
What?
Look at this.
Holy shit!
Hey, Doc.
Is that your COVID Corona-19 anti
get the bug outfit?
Yeah. Or you're going to a costume party.
This is what I call level 1. So
1?
It scales up to level 8 from here.
Oh boy.
This is going out to get the mail, so.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Now, did you turn the air conditioning on in your area where you're broadcasting? Because you look hot as fuck. I don't mean that.
I don't
mean that in a sexual way.
That also came off a little weird.
Cold, man.
Only TJ would think of that too.
Yeah, you pervert.
Whoa. You guys would have definitely said something. So I don't want to.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't either, TJ. Jesus Christ.
Explain yourself, young lad.
Explain me. I'm not the one who said anything.
I was referring to the temperature, not his looks, you perverted son of a. But yes, you look very high temperature wise in that outfit.
You also look like you're ready for the apocalypse.
Yes.
I gotta mess with my mic here.
Or to fight a fire in Alaska. On the Tucker. Is there an igloo on fire somewhere?
Oh my God.
It's great for keeping away the bug, not so great for looking for fine details. This is like, hey, kids, we're going to have a safety message real quick. Learn to fire firearms and practice a lot, because when the shit hits the fan, all of your fine motor skills go out the window, and all it is large movements is all you're going to be able to do. Doc's proving it right here without even picking up a gun.
That's right.
He puts the safety in safety, Doc.
Safety, Doc.
That's right. How you holding up, Doc? What are you up to?
Yeah, no. Actually, I'm doing good. Good. Yeah, kind of. Been listening to you guys, and yeah, things are going well here. Families adjusting. Been getting outside. People have been pretty civil, so not really much for shortages, but waiting for the small businesses to get back open.
That's what's annoying and bothering me the most. So
I think that's that's the big concern. And I made an observation yesterday. I was checking out Craigslist, and I'm outside of the Madison, Wisconsin area. 6,000 pages on Craigslist of items for sale. Half of those have been put up in the last 48 hours, and a lot of it's or best offer, and people will deliver. Like here's a pair of socks, and I'll give it to you for $5, and I'll drive it.
That sounds like something Aaron would do.
I know.
I use socks.
I'll drive it to your house. So I think that's another indicator of how people haven't, taken any responsibility to save. So they're just going around the house figuring, what can I dump quickly for cash until my government check, comes in on this. And so I think that'll be something to watch. And then I have a friend who owns some storage units and said he expects a pretty high default rate, maybe 50% by summer of people just not paying their bills on their junk that they're not, looking at anyway for the last couple of years. But no, I mean, personally, it's pretty easy to get out and bike and things like that because no one's out there. So it's going well. I feel good. I feel fine. And so, how about you guys?
Oh, fantastic. Outstanding. This is business as usual. And I think we talked about this before, and whether that's on Twitter or one of the last podcasts or whatnot, or even amongst ourselves. I think what's what's probably the most annoying is we don't have the option to go where we want. Not that we're finding other things to do. It's like, well, I'd like to go here. I can't. I'd like to go. I can't go there either. So we don't have that option. I think that's the most annoying thing right now. So.
No, that's not the most annoying thing to me, Vince.
What's the most annoying thing for you, Rob?
That motherfuckers are driving around in their cars like the COVID quarantine ain't happening. I'm out doing my route today because I've been enjoying the thinning of the traffic and being able to park. And it's still all right. But today I noticed the traffic was a little heavier than it has been. And I'm like, what happened to the stay-at-home order, guys? Get the fuck off the roads. All you guys driving around, none of you are essential. Get the fuck off the roads. Go home. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
That's what is annoying me. Plus the fact that I can't go in to get an order. I can't sit down to eat. But that's first world problems there.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed today when I see all these cars, which is more than the last couple of weeks. And it's like, what, you guys are violating the order? Come on, go home. Get the fuck off of my road. I'm essential. You're not. Get the fuck out of here. That's what annoyed me. So there's my 2 cents.
Awesome. How about you, TJ? What's your 2 cents in regard to that? What's the most annoying thing for you?
At this point, the Forest Service shutting down the road, even though I can just drive around the sign. But I think the most annoying part of it is just this idea that we're allowing this to happen, and people are like, here's the thing, guys. If this was the Spanish flu, I'm like, okay, it's killing people left and right, and it kills through all ages. Okay, I get it.
Black Death.
The Black Death, I get it. But you have this one where it kills people who mostly have pre-existing conditions. And I have a relative who was 85 and diabetic, and he survived the COVID-19, right? He recovered. So I don't like the whole idea that we're shutting down our entire society and engaging in a violation of civil liberties unprecedented in our history. That bothers me, because the thing is, one thing I've learned about the federal government, once they take away your rights, they never give it back.
Right.
Ever. So I'm at the point where it's like, if we're going to have a go down, let's do this. But I don't want to do this passive aggressive BS where like, oh, it's free protection, and slowly, oh, we're going to extend this out. We're going to extend this out. Okay, no, we're going to go out. We're going to open our businesses. We're going to be productive. We're going to go hike on the trails. And if you want to use violence and bring in the military to stop us, as Rob would say, make me. like stop me from doing this, right? Like, let's just call the question. Are you going to call in the military to stop us from going on hikes? Are you going to use guns to stop us from going hiking up a mountain? Like, if it's at that point, then what's the point of dragging this thing out?
Yeah.
Like, let's get the road. Let's start this. Woo!
How about you, Doc? What's your biggest annoyance?
Boy,
other than the fact that you have to wear that outfit.
Right. Yeah. And this is actually pretty cool for my wardrobe. This, I save this, use this look a lot, but no, I think it's the fact that we don't have any idea of when, what would be the criteria to ease the restrictions. What would it take to get to people can go out, but maybe they have to wear a mask. And I guess, coming back, it's small businesses. So in my community, it's 10,000 people. The theaters shut down. I mean, these are mom and pop places, the small engine place. And if they don't start up again in another 30, 60 days, they're not going to come back. And I'm going to be living in a community, and this replicates all across the country, right? Yeah. But you're going to be decimated from these services which enriched your community, made it, what it was. And plus, I mean, these people, their personal lives are destroyed. So I'm looking at it, and especially, again, the small engine place, they sell lawnmower, stuff like that. At any time, it would be easy for them to limit to 3 people in their shop. It's not that very big of an area. They've got some space, and there's no discretion, right? It's just a blanket decision that they have to be closed. So yeah, I'm really trying to play this out down the road of who comes out of this from a business perspective. And I guess maybe that's short-sighted and saying, maybe my concern should be focused on, people's well-being. And of course, as Rob said, I'm social distancing. If I do videos out in the community now, I make sure I'm far away from anybody if I'm doing some member or face validity checks of what's going on, and not going out unless I have another purpose tied to it. If I'm the one doing the grocery shopping, for example. But yeah, I'm really nervous for what the economy looks like and what it looks like for my neighbors, because they're small business owners, and so that's it. And as most of us, I check in with people all across the country. My friend down in Texas, who's a retired police officer, and he's saying the business is there. A lot of them are saying, we've got about 30 days, maybe 60 left before we're probably not going to open back up. Yeah. So that's my frustration. It doesn't seem like there's any movement toward, some stimulus approach of saying, yeah, if you have masks and we can get out and we can start easing restrictions.
Why don't we just open up everything again and we just call it retroactive abortion, where it's like, what's the difference? Like, if some people go who are older, it's like, I'm kind of at the point was just like we're dragging down the whole world and everything because it might endanger people who are older. Well, that's not the way it used to be for years, like for generations, where older people understood that they should not, it was wrong for them to be a burden on the young, right? Like you have reason, like the term, I'm going to take a long walk in the woods. That was when, you realized you'd reached your time and you probably weren't going to die for a long time, but you understood that there was no point in dragging down the rest of the tribe. So you were going to go take a long walk in the woods in the Yukon in the middle of winter, right? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm sounding like a jackass or I'm being callous or whatever, but it's just like, that's like us banning automobiles because they kill 30,000 people a year, right? On interstate highways, right? So, why don't we just all? I don't know. It's like as it's, we're kind of living an experiment of that. Somebody said, if you want to go to a place where you're totally safe and someone gives you food, go to prison, right? Like we're all under house arrest right now, according to what they're saying. So I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm not under house arrest. I've done nothing wrong. I'm going to go out and enjoy life. And if people got a problem with that, you know, let's have the discussion one way or another, you know.
Do you see an ankle bracelet on that foot?
Joe Boxer? No.
Yep.
No, I see some socks that you'll probably end up.
Those socks would be. You could get $3 for those.
Yeah.
I'll put the ad up. Just wait. Yeah.
You have to clean them. You'll get 4.
Right.
No, it's just like why are we shutting down everything because of this? And they say, oh, it's because of the spread of the infection. It's like, you know, I just don't know what to say. This is my humble opinion, but I would like, why don't we just go on with our lives? But here's the honest question: if we didn't have a government run by boomers, would we be doing this? I think the honest answer to the question, the answer to it is no, we would not at all, right? Because they didn't freak out over the whole Ebola, right? They didn't freak out over the H1N1 swine flu. They didn't freak out over all this other stuff. So why are we freaking out over this? You know, riddle me this, Batman. Let's get the Riddler in here, right? Where is he on speed dial?
That's right.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's something also just a big contradiction in this. So every day the mail carrier, you know, pulls up to our house, walks up, lifts the lid on the mailbox and puts in the mail and, you know, takes any mail. But, you know, that person doesn't have protective gear and any type, you know, nothing, no gloves. And up from me, prior to getting to my house, there is a house that's quarantined, which I reported on because the neighbor made me aware of it, that they were quarantined in their house for 14 days because they had come back from a hotspot area. But yeah, so I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, it's only going to be a matter of time, right? And the Postal Service will either cut down their delivery or you're going to see them in more protective gear. It's going to be very overt. And no, it's completely not. So I have a hard time trying to write that whole issue because it just doesn't seem to make sense when we have other restrictions coming out, and yet, you know, this person is touching literally, you know, right up by your door and your mail and things like that a minute later you're touching or that you've just put out, and then they're retrieving and putting it in a bin, and then it does its magic dance at the post office with thousands of other things. And so that's the frustration, right? I'm looking at this saying, why aren't we all on the same playing field? I mean, I seem, you know, we're being significantly restricted, but you've you've just touched basically, you know, 1,000 pieces of mail from our neighborhood. I don't get it.
And it's bringing out the little, you know, Eichmanns, the little snitches in
rats.
Every
a big fucking dick. Urgh.
Yeah, the relative of mine who had it and then he recovered, he left to go grab some groceries at the store, and he left at like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and apparently there was someone who was like spying on him at 7 a.m. in the morning in his community, and like was calling everybody in his community telling him that he had left his house. And it's like, okay, this is like Soviet East Stasi behavior.
Stasi, right. Yeah. So TJ, I mean, if you guys, I posted a day or two ago a 45-second clip from the Bellevue, Washington police website. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it was just irony, or it was coincidence that happened. But so I posted this clip and edited it down. So it's 45 seconds. And basically you can go in and you drag from a Google map right into the address. You don't even have to know their address. You can zoom in from satellite to find their house. So somebody built this, right? They took a couple tech people aside and said, this is what we need. You have direction, or you put then your narrative in there, and then you can upload photos. So I'm like, what the hell? You're dispatching depleted police forces to somebody's backyard barbecue. You're taking photos, which you're not going to be able to prove the authenticity. You could deep fake those, or and then here's the other thing that's happening. So I have some friends out in Pennsylvania, and they said, this has created a cottage industry of YouTubers going around, and they're just filming and trying to find groups, and then the report, and they're like doing this live. So they're making YouTube AdSense revenue. It's insane. And people completely mind-boggling, undermining people. In Bellevue, I went to that website, TJ, and there's a lot of links that aren't complete. There's a lot of information people need about resources, assets, water, sewer. It's not there, but
here's the thing. People, this is where I get so frustrated, because people are just, I'm trying to use wholesome words when I say this. People are stupid. They don't understand. You don't snitch on people who are economically desperate or just lost their job, and then you're snitching on them in your own name. There's this famous line from a James Cagney film, Angels with Dirty Faces. You never cause trouble in your own neighborhood, right? You don't snitch on people in your own neighborhood. So that you're reporting people in your own neighborhood, and guess what? People are going to know who it is. They're going to know who you are, because they just know. And you're reporting people who are already economically desperate because of what's going on. You don't think that they're going to go shoot you and send a message, or they're not going to go burn your house down in the middle of the night. This is where people just don't think. Yeah, like Rob says, they're not going to let it burn. They're going to make it burn. And they don't get, you don't screw around with people who are desperate. You leave them alone, because if you present a threat to them, they got nothing to lose, because what's the worst that's going to happen, right? They go to prison, great. Someone else gets to provide for them and feed them. Yes, yeah, exactly. Just people are so stupid.
Right.
You don't want to be around them, because not only will they escalate with you, they're going to escalate with people who are going to cut their throat. And in these circumstances, people will think that whenever I bring this up, people freak out and they're like, "Oh, TJ, you sound so radical." It's like, you are all dumb. You have the luxury of behaving this way and acting this way when the times are good. When the chips are down, go act like this around people and see how it works out. See how they treat you for however long you are alive afterwards. So people are stupid. Too long in the read version. People are incredibly stupid.
TLDR, people are stupid.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd say people in groups are stupid. Individuals as you meet them. I think it's a different story. But as herds and sheep, as Rob just said, the people are stupid.
Why would you rat on your own neighbors and think that they're not going to do something to you? This is what I don't understand, right? If my neighbor's doing something illegal, let's say I happen to live in an area where they're cooking meth, I'm not going to call the cops on them. You want to know why? Because that's a public records request. It's subject to public records request.
Right.
Yeah.
So they'll know who reported the crime. So great. I want my number and my name and my address in a public records request related to reporting somebody who's cooking meth. What do you think they're going to do to me when they find out it was me?
Burn your fucking house down.
It's exactly right. That is the true loss of payphones. You cannot make anonymous calls as easily as you used to. Got to get that burner phone, right?
That's right. Yeah, get that prepaid.
And I just think it's an embarrassment too for the police to put that website up. I think there's so many levels where that's wrong at this time to put that up. And so it's an embarrassment. But I mean, the first embarrassment was just 40 miles away from me here in where I'm at, in Dane County, Wisconsin, where Madison is at, did the same thing 2 days before, and then they took their site down. But it is absolutely insane to do this. I'm looking at this thinking, I mean, I didn't have any idea we would get to this point of a government. And again, you think of the layers this had to go through, a couple meetings and someone, not saying, yeah, this is a bad idea. Let's not do this. Let's just have, if, people can call in or make it a 211 number, but not where we build a website with a Google map. You can take a satellite image, drag it over, write a description, upload your own photos. I mean, what the hell? At what point didn't someone come forward and say, let's not do that?
Yeah, and the other thing is, imagine if that website had instead been used to report people who were illegal aliens. Imagine how well that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
people speeding, right, or illegal. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
Any infraction, really.
Yeah, but that is not okay. But if you're going to report somebody who happens to be within 6 feet of another human being, now that's okay, right? Because they might get somebody sick. Well, you know what? Let's be honest here. The herd needs to be cold a little bit, It's like,
well, it used to be nature took care of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like
we legislated ourselves and law ourselves into a fucking corner.
Yeah, I'm not saying like we go against nature and get rid of people who would otherwise be alive. I'm saying like let nature take its course and stop leeching off of the productive, healthy members of society. I already subsidize, and I'm sure you guys do as well. We subsidize the healthcare system by being healthy, right? Mm-hmm. We're not a drag on the system. Other people are a drag on the system. So I don't want to hear any complaints from people saying that we're being cruel. We've already put in more than we're ever going to take out. And so,
yeah.
So let's stop. We need to grease the rope a little bit, right? It reminds me of that line from Home Alone where they're like, "Oh, Kevin's all alone," and his older brother goes, "The young child could use a few days in the real world, right?" Like, we gotta have reality for a second, right? Spending $70 million to keep one guy alive at age 97 when he's got 6 different cancers and he can't hear and he's got diapers is not a productive and valuable use of resources. I'm just saying, I'm just saying,
I agree with what you're saying. So
I just find it amazing that I remember somebody telling me like the relative who was older needed to save up $200,000 to pay for their senior care or whatever, and I just thought, old lives matter. For how long? But just the amount of money that they will burn away of what could go to as an like, think of all the money. Like I'm just thinking about it from my own perspective. When I get old, right? The idea of burning away $200,000 to keep me alive for an extra year, when that money could go to my grandchildren so that they could buy a house, right? Like that's a better use of that money, right? And then I'm like, yeah, I can croak. Like, and you know what? If I'm that selfless, chances are one of my grandkids are gonna be like, you can have one of the houses, you can have like the downstairs bedroom, right? As long as you're cognizant, you're not, like dribbling all over the place or something like that. I don't know. But if you're at the point where you need someone else to take care of you, that's when you need to go on a motorcycle ride, and aim for the bushes, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah. Aim
there
for the wall.
goes my hero.
No, I said it before. That's probably how I'm going out.
Yeah, exactly. It's the way to go out,
Either that or a small plane.
Or Smith & Wesson 33-cent plan.
I think the motorcycle or small plane is a little more dramatic.
Yeah.
So, but you are correct, Rob. You can do that as well. Yes.
I'm gonna just go for a walk in the middle of the winter. I'm gonna take a long walk.
Take a long walk, see?
Well, with very little gear, see? Yeah, I'm gonna go out.
You're not gonna dress up like the safety doc, is what you're saying.
No, I'll have a little GPS thing, and I'll be like, guys, when winter's over, you can come and find me.
I don't know how you hold on. I mean, you realize Rob and I will be dead before you. So
like my point is like, I'm not gonna.
You're not telling us anything.
What do you do, Basil?
You're already talking to dead men, TJ. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Seriously.
You better get some other friends to go find your corpse, because it ain't going to be us.
No, I'm talking about my family. I'll be like, here's the GPS tracker.
Right.
When winter,
and then it keeps moving because the wolf ate it,
Right. It's like 400 miles away.
Reese ate it.
Good times.
Oh man.
Interesting.
Jesus Christ, we are seeing the rise of totalitarianism.
Is that what it's come down to in Australia, Alec?
Fucking people ratting on each other via a website.
This is why
TJ, was it in your state that you put up the article or the link about don't use hate speech in the sheriff? Oh my God. Let the fuckers burn.
Here's the thing, guys. Important thing to keep in mind. This is why you live in a rural area. Because if there is a snitch, they'll be found out in seconds. And you know what? I can tell you about my own town. Nobody tolerates a snitch. Right? Everybody kind of minds their P's and Q's.
New Zealand. So, fuck. Middle Earth's gone off the deep end?
Yeah,
you got Sauron over there?
Kiwi country is snowflake land.
Fucking Sauron took control.
No shit. Mordor rules. Hey, Chest, how are you?
What's up,
Hanging in there, Rob. How are you?
Doing all right. Just drinking and pissing and moaning.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think I threw it up in the chat, but I'm starting work on my my butt hurt Hefeweizen recipe while we've got some downtime. So taking suggestions as far as flavorings of your cloudy German style beers.
Nice. So, well, the wit style with extra lemon.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get too shandy with it, because then people actually be looking forward to summer, and no hope for any of you fuckers. So.
That's funny.
But so everything's on lockdown where I'm at too, for the most part. I live in one of those places where our governor isn't on good terms with the federal government, so it's created some difficulties as well. Yeah. People don't understand how any of the FEMA assistance works. They don't understand how to close up schools. They don't know what to do with their kids now that they're home. So that's why I threw a little name on here too, because I'm now Power Dad Rockwell and playing the card. So it's just been.
Hey, there's a couple of online forts you can go join and spread your knowledge to.
I got a question for Chesty. Well, I've been meaning to ask this. Who is the guy in the photo?
Huh? Oh, that's James Spader, early Spader from Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of my spirit animal, Steph. He just does not give a fuck. Really doesn't. He's got a ton of money, all the clothes, all the hair. He's 18, 19 years old, and he just does not give a shit. And that's kind of how I would like to be able to go out through life, just with a everything is within my own frame, and if you don't like what's going on, well then piss off. I'll just move on to people who want to hang out with me. So that's kind of the the image that I would like to portray as far as my online persona is concerned, because I do a lot of work behind the scenes on a bunch of crap. So it's it's better to be carefree and footloose if you can be, but life's got a lot of responsibilities. Put it that way.
Gotcha.
Nice. Well, it definitely sums it up in that one picture because you kind of summed it up there. So. But yeah. I love it. Power Dad Rockwell. Yep, you're power dadding. You got to journal it like some of the other gurus do, and you got to show how big of a power dad you are. And look what I'm doing, guys. Here I am. I'm power dadding. Look at me. Parenting is hard.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about it is just watching these guys have to, shovel the shit that they've been putting out there for the past 18 months hardcore, and then oh wow, now I'm actually stuck with them for large stretches of time, and who are these people, and do they have personalities, and do I actually like my own kids? What do I do about this? And in many cases, mine are 11 and 13, so I mean they're as schizophrenic as they can possibly be, vacillating between completely normal human beings to just overly emotional wrecks, especially during something like this. So you gotta deal with it as it comes. And now, with the schools being closed, the administration doesn't know what to do with itself, and
right.
The teachers are just out of their minds because
we need jobs. We need to be relevant.
Well, and that's the thing is that if my kid comes back dumber, do you feel validated in your position, or what does that mean for you as a teacher if they come back and they're still on track or skilled enough to meet the next year's expectations, or they could skip a grade because they spent 3 months with me instead of 9 months with you. I just don't know how it's going to turn out.
That would be so great. Homeschooling. Hey, we don't need Ritalin anymore. ADHD is not a thing, and the kids are actually smarter. And we don't need physical buildings, and we don't really need teachers all that much. We just found out how relevant they really are.
Well, and I think you're seeing a lot of the inner city, careerists, especially amongst the women folk, who are really complaining right now because they too have to parent, and on top of it, they're feeling as though their built-in daycare system is biting into their career time, and not having a source of childcare based on just I don't know, the fact that you send the kids someplace for 6 to 8 hours a day, they get fed meals and they have some type of structure, then you have to provide it yourself, heaven forbid, now that they're home.
Yeah, God forbid.
I know, man. It's just parent, like I got in my description, man. Parenting's hard. I really don't know how else to say it.
Hey, I got a funny story for you guys. So actually, we started to do about 5-minute videos for my parents because they live quite a ways from here, and we're not going to make that trip up there, of course, to protect them, and also my wife's mom. So we do like a little family update video, and like the first one we did was pretty serious, and the last one we did, it's like a Benny Hill skit. I mean, it's like unbelievably funny, right? Like just the humor from my kids and my wife. We edit this thing together, and we've got horse sound effects and all of this other crazy stuff. And I think looking back for us, it's nothing public. Like I don't put that out there public or anything, but I share it. And it's going to be kind of a neat archive to look back on these little videos that we're just doing to kind of update on what we're doing and things like that. But there's also this definite reflection of, it was very serious, like we're okay, here's what's happening, to now it's just, wild and wacky stuff that we're doing. So yeah, I think from that point, I've really seen a lot of growth also in the creativity, I guess, of my kids and my family, where you just kind of, you can deal with the pressure so long, and then you start to be a Hawkeye on, MASH. You start to turn it into humor. And I think that's where we're at right here in my household. I mean, it's respectful. We're not putting ourselves at risk, but yeah, we've been cracking jokes and doing like a lot of crazy stuff. internally as a family that, we probably weren't doing that, even just a couple of months ago.
Well, I got a related question to that then. If you guys are doing MASH, who plays Spears, Chucker, Jones in your place?
Good question. We only have 4 in the family, so we have a Radar O'Reilly. Yeah, we have I don't know. I would my oldest daughter, who's a teenager, she is definitely like Trapper John.
Oh, okay.
She's Trap. Yeah, my wife's probably more. I don't know. I have to think.
But who's Klinger? That's what I want to know.
We do have, that we got to go out a little bit into extended family, but we've got Klinger. Yeah, that's definitely there. No, but I've seen something happen, which I think is really positive in these. It's not this progressive video series of like, every time we're waving goodbye to people and it's just, again, I think it's really, we've done face validity. I've talked about that so much. Get out there, see what's happening around you, or talking to your friends if we're outside. Again, not putting people at risk. And Rob, you're absolutely right. I mean, you don't want to be stupid with this and take a camera inside a Walmart and view what's on the shelves, because I think stuff like that is just irresponsible. But doing face validity. Hey, what's happening outside your door? What's happening at the playground? We're going to drive around. Here's what's happening at the armory. Let's look at how busy. And they realize what they're getting on the news and what even their teachers are telling them. It's usually the worst case scenario, right? It's like the Drudge Report. You're bombarding kids with this. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, places are, having some really serious stuff. Where we're at, you're safe. Things are okay. We'll keep you informed, but let's go out and we'll actually see what's going on. Face validity. Yeah. I mean, I found it to be really helpful. Like a ton of people have been reaching out to me on that. I did that one live stream and that thing really got a lot of attention.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are just trying to validate what they're seeing with other people too. There's a certain amount of corroboration that needs to take place at this point. I mean, I can say what my views are from my perspective, and when I go out into the world, what am I experiencing as far as shortages? What does traffic look like? How are my kids, adjusting to the situation based upon whatever factors that I have? And then if you can get that type of validation from other people that this is kind of how we're dealing with it in a similar way. This is what we're doing different. I'm not saying you turn it into some big, brainstorming session where you come up with 85 different things. You're never really able to whittle down, what kind of positives and negatives you're getting out of this. But at the same time, people are craving interaction at this point because they're not able to get it face to face. This is where, the FaceTime and these types of events, are becoming even more, I think necessary for people's general sanity and for their social skills to still stay on point. And I think for the kids too, to continue speaking with adults, not just you and your wife, is also, I think, important at this point in time, because I mean, we have an opportunity here to turn down the spurt a little bit, I think. And, you might as well use it to your advantage by putting people in front of your kids and ingesting, reasonable material, as opposed to binging on, the 10% to the left or the 10% to the right that Twitter and other platforms like to amplify. There's a real world in there somewhere, and you just got to find ways to engage it properly right now.
Indeed.
So there's a fight at a supermarket over a bag of chicken?
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So like
mongrels, all right.
Yeah. So what are like I guess what's the price of gas a gallon near you guys right now?
Regular is about 208.
Okay.
And that's
Utah tends to be kind of at the end of the curve, I guess you could say. And that means that when prices drop, we're one of the last ones to drop, but also we're one of the last ones to raise them when prices go up. I want to say gas. I bought gas the other day, and I think it was like $2.29, $2.28, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's $1.59 here today. So
damn.
Yeah. It was it was 169 here, which I found the lowest since the Clinton administration, at least if I can remember. So that's low. That's odd. I'm looking forward to seeing what shakes out as far as the price of oil once Saudi Arabia and Russia stop bickering and this all clears up. That might be a good opportunity to invest. Let's just put it that way.
All right,
But
all right. So this is what Alec is talking about. In the 1960s, a gang of variously disaffected youth sprang up in Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. They didn't ride bikes, but they quickly developed all the trimmings of an outlaw motorcycle club: patches, club colors, and a fiercely violent process of initiation. They came to be known as the Mighty Mongrel Mob, and today they're the largest gang in the country with around 30 chapters across both islands. Wow.
Huh.
I had no idea.
No, they're trying to show up the Mongols and some of the other groups.
So much for hobbits.
Yep.
Sure.
It looks like a Maori version of the Hells Angels.
Look at this.
Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That's like a combination of the traditional tattooing of the islands there, the Maori, and then they kind of throw their own biker twist on top of it. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, look at this guy here.
That's all traditional face tattooing there. There's nothing really out of the ordinary there, but the jacket. Yep, same there. That's all Maori warrior tattooing.
Interesting. What the fuck?
Gotta get in this chat here a little bit. I'm hanging out in the StreamYard stream and I see what's going on with the degenerates to the right. Let's see what's going on.
Frodo's about to get fisted. That's funny.
It's all looks like it's all talk about the gang right now.
Yep. Stuff that I've heard for years when I used to run with an MC. So
yeah.
Same shit.
Did they have their own clubhouses out where you are too, Rob?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, each chapter had its own clubhouse. Utah's kind of fun because, like, Nevada, for instance, has a COC, which is a coalition of clubs.
Yep.
And so all the different organizations will get together and hash out their differences and whatever, you know, they have get-togethers once or twice a year type of thing. Utah is more old school in the sense that we have a COC here, but nobody gives a fuck about it. And at least the big clubs, they don't care. They're like, no, this is how we're going to run shit in Utah. And so it's kind of a fiefdom, a feudal system. The smaller clubs pay tribute to the larger clubs, and everybody kind of coexists to a degree. The bigger clubs tend to feed off of the smaller clubs, which is part of why I got out. It was one of those that, well, you either need to take your cut off or you need to wear a support patch type of thing. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to I don't want to do either. I don't want to take my cut off, but I also don't want to wear a support patch for you guys because I know what that entails. So yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm out.
That sounds a lot like I don't know, a symbolic riding bitch to me.
It is. It is. Most of the support clubs end up doing the dirty work for whoever it is they're supporting.
Yeah, I can't see stab and rob as part of the club. So
no, and that's the thing, you know, like I said, our club we got attention from some of the, not the big ones, but from some of the higher ones. They're definitely all 1%ers. And it was like, okay, the 1% guys, they're willing to die and go to prison for their cuts. I'm not. You know, I just do this to go right. It's not about territory for me or any of the other politics that they get involved in. And so there came a point after several altercations where it was like, yeah, it's time for me to say sayonara. I don't need to be a part of this. I just want to ride. I don't give a fuck about who controls what. It's not my concern. I just want to ride my motorcycle and go out and do shit.
He just wants to ride eternal, shiny and chrome.
Actually, flat black, TJ. That's the Indian.
Ride eternal to the gates of Valhalla.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there's not a lot of democratic process with the motorcycle clubs in Utah. There's one or two that are kind of the top dogs, and they pretty much call the shots for any other club that wants to wear a back patch. And so you gotta show them respect. You gotta pay fealty, all that kind of stuff. And some of them are pushing for the support patch thing. So, and for me, it's like, don't need it. I just want to ride.
Yeah, I don't think you need to show your fealty by like transporting a backpack of meth across state lines or something.
No, either that or, you know, okay, we need you to go take care of, you know, you need to go intimidate somebody. It's like, yeah, don't need it.
Yeah.
Shit.
Welcome, Alec.
How's it going?
That's going well. Nice to officially meet you, as it were.
Yeah, you guys too.
So you were just talking to us about everything going down in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking chilled out, to be honest, man. We're just kind of sitting at home getting paid by the government, so
Getting the free bucks.
A silver lining, as it were.
Yeah, well, they're subsidizing at least 80% of our income for those businesses who have lost 30% of their income. So, yeah, most people who can't work from home are simply sitting at home, getting a paid Netflix vacation.
Oh, wow.
Does the Shire pay well?
Not as well as Australia, but I think we're going to do better than them in this situation.
Yeah, they've kind of gotten gangbanged by catastrophe recently with the fires and then coronavirus right on top of it.
Right.
Exactly, man. Yeah, it was fucked. Like, it was way too wet when they were getting all the fires. You know, it was just raining all the time over here, so I felt kind of bad about that.
I don't know how bad you'd feel about it.
Well, not really, mate.
Boy, what's a New Zealander feeling bad about an Australian about?
It's a token feel bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's sporting entirely like we're actually, you know, we like it. Like, they're kind of like, well, a better way to put it would be we are Australia's Canada.
I guess.
Like,
we're
kind of more polite, like just nicer in general, not as arrogant.
What does everybody think of Tasmanians?
I think they're all fucking like country bumpkins.
Okay, because I mean, it's kind of like this island off all by itself, and you know, way to the south.
Yeah.
So
they've got some freaky shit going on there for sure.
Yeah. It's an interesting area over there. I've never really understood the how all the three groups interacted with one another. But even like the difference between North and South Australia between Sydney and Melbourne, the people are very different from what I understand.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Australia myself. I've been there once, and also passing through airports, but I'm not too familiar with it. We don't we're very tied to them, but we're not so tied on the current events. But yeah, it's definitely very similar. Like foreigners don't tend to be able to tell the difference between our accents, but I don't know, it probably sound really weird to you guys, right?
Are you at all involved in the sheep industry?
No, my grandfather actually was a sheep farmer, so he had. But that is the most common joke. So they kind of stole that from the English and the Welsh. You know how they call the Welsh sheep fuckers.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't talking about that. I just heard.
Okay.
At one point in time, there were 4 or 5 times more sheep on the island than there were people, and that it was a major industry that a lot of people were involved.
Oh yeah,
just didn't know.
Yeah, probably still, man. Like we only have, I think, less than 5 million people, and the islands are bigger than the UK, so we have plenty of space and not so many people.
Yeah, still friendly to the film industry over there.
Oh fuck yeah. We pay them to come and film here.
Oh, I see.
That's why they do it, and obviously, you've got plenty of scenery and all that shit, but yeah.
I've heard of specific Tolkien tours there since the movies were made. I just didn't know if they were still doing a lot of epic stuff in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's booming, man. Like the Lord of the Rings were actually probably one of the best PR campaigns for our tourism industry. So where I actually grew up is very close to where Hobbiton was filmed, and they've since rebuilt the place for the Hobbit films, and it's actually a functioning Hobbiton. Like you can go inside all the buildings; they're all permanent now, and they take tours for about $80 a head, and it's just constantly full of people before the coronavirus. Obviously.
Yeah, my buddy and his wife for their honeymoon went to New Zealand for that kind of stuff. And said it was more expensive than going to Disneyland.
Oh fuck yeah! Like that's the thing. Once you get here, you can't go anywhere else. Like there's ocean for miles around us. So as soon as you get here, we're just gonna fleece the shit out of you.
Yeah, but I mean that's still in a geek sweet spot, though. I mean, be a person isn't too bad, and if somebody's that dedicated to either the books or the movies, they'll pony it up, no problem.
Oh fuck yeah! No, it's well worth it. Like to this day, my favorite place is the Tongariro Crossing, which is it's this big series of volcanoes, and it's like this day hike you can do, and it's actually where they filmed Mordor. So it's like this geothermal. It's like an active volcano. It actually exploded and destroyed a hut. Unfortunately, there was nobody in it, but it's just this amazing red landscape with these green lakes up at altitude and like all this cool trippy shit. So I love that.
So Corona-chan has brought us the actual Eye of Sauron. And you've been to the place where the fictional Eye of Sauron. So that's cool.
Yeah, man. It's fucking weird, dude. I went to the supermarket and they have little markings outside that you have to stand on. They're like 2 meters apart as you queue. And then when you're in, they have little arrows on the floor. And this fucking fat lady was like, she saw me because I skipped one of the aisles because it was empty, and I was just, looking for some Tupperware or something. And she was like, actually, you have to go around to the other side. You got to follow the arrows. And I was like, all right, there's no one here. And she's like, look, you got to follow the rules. And she just got super aggravated about it. It was hilarious.
Oh, you'd be like, I'm sorry, you confused me with an immigrant.
Yeah.
So are you?
I'm an undocumented grocery shopper.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm gonna go hiking tomorrow on national forest land that's closed off, and if they give me problems, I'm gonna be like, hey, if they give me crap, I'm gonna be like, I'm an undocumented hiker. All right. So if we really want to go there, great.
But what about your card that says I do what I want?
Yeah, exactly. It's like whatever. I do what I want, you know? I'm like
Right.
Cartman or all that kind of stuff. You know,
This is America.
yeah, I'll be like, you know, if you don't like America, you can get the hell out and go that way, right? Get the hell out of my country.
What are the Native American rights as far as treaties in Washington? Because I know that where I'm at, they have different rights as far as applicability of hunting licenses and other things that have to do with national treaties with the tribe that kind of cuts out the state as far as how they can limit your ability to go from place to place. I mean, you might be able to just say, well, I'm Native American, I'm a member of such and such tribe, I can go where I want based on that.
That's true. Now they might demand evidence, and you know, my gun is my permit. That's kind of my like sentiment at this point. It's like, you know, if we're gonna really do that, like I'm one of those guys. Like, let's cut the wolf. Like, let's cut the bull. Like, if you guys think that we can't go here and go hiking, if you think that I'm not allowed to go hiking in the middle of frickin' nowhere where there is nobody else, and I've been there, I know what it's like to have, like, as far as you can see all around you, the entire 360-degree panorama, not a single living person around you, and you're telling me that that is violating social distancing. Like, we're like, we should, first of all, guys, we should have been stacking bodies before the drag queen hour at public libraries. Like, we skipped over some important key points of like when the revolution should have started. So I'm like,
can I jump in and play devil's advocate for the going out solo into the nature thing?
go ahead.
So the logic they're giving here isn't that you're going to pass the virus onto a fucking tree or something like that. There's official advice they're giving. So you don't actually get in trouble if you don't follow it. You just get a warning. So when police are arresting people, it's typically for other crimes. So they're speeding down the motorway drunk, going 300 kilometers an hour, which has happened multiple times. Yeah, it's actually when the idea is that when the health services are overwhelmed, if you do run into trouble while you're in the middle of nowhere, it's diverting resources from that overwhelmed health service. So that kind of makes sense. There was actually one girl who went for a run in the rain and she fell off a cliff and died. So
you know, I am perfectly willing to say, do not come and rescue me. Like, just don't. I'll figure
fair
it
enough.
out. I'll be Steven. I'll be the what's his name from the Revenant. I'll be that guy, right? I'll crawl back to civilization. Even if I get mauled by a bear, I'll kill the bear. I'll then crawl back and yell at the guys who are supposed to bury my body when I didn't die. You know, like I'll do that. But like, it's just, I hate how the petty tyrants are using this as an example, as an opportunity to crush our civil liberties. And I just want to thumb my nose at these people and say, hey, like, just for the record, we're doing this voluntarily, but if push comes to shove, you know, you're going to get shoved 6 feet under. Atham, I don't want you rescued.
No, let Atham rescue you.
He wants to die.
You do this, TJ.
Here's a weird thing. Alec, do they sell Holden in New Zealand?
Yeah, well, they actually just, I think they announced recently that they're going to stop manufacturing them. I'm not too sure when, but yeah, Holdens are very popular in New Zealand for sure.
I think either last year or the year before, they made what appears almost like a cross between a muscle car and a pickup truck. It's like the old El Camino that they used to have here in the U.S. And that thing had
we call them
close to 500 horsepower, if I remember correctly.
So we actually call those they look, you're exactly right, they look like a cross between the two, and we actually call them utes here, so UTE, and they're basically the same as, you know, just the sedan variant, but they have a trailer sticking out the back. But the Holdens are actually used by the police, and for a while they've used V8 and V6 Holdens because they handle the corners on the windy roads at speed, and they can, you know, chase fuckers with those.
Yeah. We can't get those in the U.S. And you want to talk about weird regulations, TJ? There's actually an old Johnson regulation that had to do with agriculture that prevents us from importing trucks from other countries that aren't built domestically. So we can't get this awesome Holden Ute here in the U.S. that goes about 195 miles an hour, simply because the tariffs on a truck to get it over here. It was tied to a weird bill that also banned like dextrin and a bunch of other weird corn products.
And a bunch of other products that would have, like completely revolutionized our industries. But yeah.
Yes. And this was back obviously when Johnson was president. So this, this is the 1960s, and they repealed all of the other portions of that bill and that executive order, except for the importation of trucks. So that awesome Holden Ute, which I've actually looked at longingly from afar from a long time, because some of them are quite badass, will never reach this shore ever unless
just come here and buy or rent one, man. Like, that's super fun to drive, and you can just drive from the top to the bottom. And
well, that's what I'm saying. I just want to open it up to around 300 kph and just fly down in a
I guess my point is like, here's the thing.
What's the thing?
At some point, here's the thing, guys.
Here's the thing. Is this going to be brief?
At the end of the day.
Not for nothing.
Not for nothing. Will this be brief? Fundamentally, it will
I'll
not.
make it brief.
Keep going.
I'll keep it brief. I'll keep it to one sentence. If this thing does not end in a month, there's going to be mass civil disobedience. Okay. And I'll make it 2 sentences. I'll just end on this note. Americans approved a constitutional amendment to ban the sale of alcohol. They then proceeded to completely disobey that law. So Americans are kind of weird in this sense. Now, I understand that we are not from 100 years ago, but the fact of the matter is, at some point, Americans are going to be like, we don't care. Right? It's like as though you took away their, sports. They took away sports ball. Like, what else are you going to do with some of these people? They got to have something to do. So that's my brief comment. Is like, this will not last very long unless they're going to start giving people free checks, free shekels. Make it rain dollar bills.
Can I send a video to you, Vince, to play?
You can, yes.
I will. Should I put it in the private chat here?
Yeah, throw in the private chat, and then I'll throw it up on the.
Would it offend Aaron Clary?
I hope
no,
so.
it's just something.
Okay, then we don't want to watch. If it's not going to offend him, we don't want to watch it. Yeah, offending.
Oh, okay. Hang on, let me share the screen.
So this is a video of the Mongrel Mob gang I mentioned, and they do the hang 10 surfing sign as their gang signs. You can't actually do that in my hometown because it might get you punched in the face. It's really weird. So they wear their logo is the English pit bull with the German helmet, which is supposed to be a big fuck you to the English.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That guy's really into his shit.
I want to see more content.
Look at the guy in the background with sunglasses on. He's like really moving.
There we go.
So their rival gang is called Black Power. and they fight on the street with like hammers.
I was going to say, is there a lot of violence going back and forth between these gangs?
Just between those two. Like the great thing is if you keep out of those circles, they tend to keep to themselves, which is awesome.
Okay.
Don't the All Blacks do this before rugby games?
They do, yes. It's called a haka. It's like a challenge that they do before. They used to do it before fighting, and they would actually before killing each other, and then the winning tribe would like eat the heart of the losing tribe's chief and shit like that.
Holy shit!
And all women turned on immediately.
Jesus.
But yeah, they roll around. They pretty much control the meth trade throughout the country, and the drug trade in general, really. But we don't really have cocaine here. It's mostly meth.
Interesting.
I thought Australia and New Zealand, considering you guys are islands, really, you guys were more into designer drugs. The kind of like MDMA and that kind of thing. I thought that was more your guys' thing, not coke, not weed, that kind of stuff.
Well, weed is massive here, so we have really high levels of UV naturally. So because we're right under that hole in the ozone layer, so outdoor weed grows really well. So we're apparently the highest users per capita in the world. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's still the case, but weed is massive because we can just grow it. Cocaine is virtually non-existent. It's
it's what I would kind of think.
Yeah, it's about $400 a gram.
Have that imported in.
Yeah. Meth is massive because it can be developed from pharmaceuticals. MDMA is incredibly popular. Like all the young people use MDMA, but it's never actually MDMA. It's just a bunch of other shit they can put together.
Okay. So the designer drugs, quote unquote, is a little more popular down under than some of the more, like you say, like coke or heroin or those kind of things then.
Dude, people here would love coke if they had it, but they just don't have it. So. No, they all do MD, but they're all just doing fucking meth. Really, they just call it MD.
Ugh.
Yeah, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Everybody loved coke. Trust me.
Well, James Spader loved it.
Yeah, sure did. Less than zero. He liked to sell it too.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Have you guys heard of the Haast's eagle?
No.
Okay, so you know how on Lord of the Rings there's those big fuck off eagles that like carry Gandalf around that could have, they could have just flown over the mountain, dropped the ring.
Dropped it in and ended the movie in 5 minutes. Right.
So New Zealand was actually home to the largest species of eagle ever to exist.
Really?
And it was actually around when humans were around, and there's actually evidence that suggests they even killed and ate humans.
Wow.
Shit.
So they're extinct, and there used to be these giant flightless birds as well, but the giant eagle was absolutely massive. I think the largest it would weigh is about 510 pounds, 230 kgs. And it had this insanely huge wingspan, and it would fly out of the sky. And instead of picking its prey up and carrying it off, it would just shoot out of the sky and slam you into the ground with its talons, and then sit there and eat you because there were no land predators to threaten the eagle.
Shit. That's a big.
And it was
a big fucking bird.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It used to like fuck up people, but then the people had spears, and the eagle would just sit there, so they just like fuck up the eagle. So
how when did it go extinct?
I think it was something like a few hundred years ago, if I remember correctly. I'll have to
long ago.
No, it was it was definitely within the hundreds because they found human bones with talon marks in their shoulders.
Oh shit.
Whoa.
Well, they would have been.
But yeah,
it would have been only populated by the Polynesians at that point, though, right? I mean, there wouldn't have been any English at that point in time.
No guns, yeah.
So, no, yeah, they were just limited to that.
Slingshots and spears taking down a giant bird.
Yeah, well, they had these big wooden, almost like axe spear type things that they would fight each other with, and they would put them into right under your jaw through your neck into your skull, and then twist it, and it's pretty fucking brutal, man.
Yeah, I mean the Polynesians made it all the way over to the east coast of South America. I mean, they're hardy, crazy people. They get out on the open ocean in canoes and row for thousands of miles. It's
very albatross-like.
Exactly, man. No, they have an interesting history, man. They've got some mythology that's they had some mythology that was almost like reptilian mythology, which is fucking crazy. But they had like shape-shifting humanoid reptiles that would steal their wives and go out into the bush and shit like that. It was great.
Well, that sounds like the red pill guys complaining about Chad.
Pretty much.
Oh no, it's all 4D, and you gotta sun your butthole, or Chad will come along and steal your girl and go out into the wilderness with her. No, dude, if there are no lizard people, you're probably more like the lizard person than that guy is. Oh my god,
dude! You guys know Alex Jones, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Not personally, but by reputation, yes.
Yes, the frogs are.
I found it so weird that he backed Trump. Like, even though Trump was supposed to be an outsider, I also find it so weird that he backed the Republican Party, because Alex Jones, like the Alex Jones I remember, used to be just so anti-politicians and like so anti anything. What?
Trump was not an establishment Republican. He was. Quintus Curtius really described it well. Trump was a third-party candidate who worked within one of the major parties. I mean, I got to be honest. When he first announced his run for the Republican Party, I thought the guy initially had no chance of winning. But then he got up and gave that very famous speech about illegal immigration, and he said all these taboo stuff. But what really solidified it for me was when he told Megyn Kelly on, during that one debate, kind of told her to buzz off when she was asking about all of his comments about women, and just said, "We don't have time for political correctness." That was when I just said, "This guy's going to get elected." Like he's the reason Alex Jones, and first of all, he's probably the only presidential candidate ever, let alone president, who's ever appeared on Alex Jones's channel. Yeah. Like no one else would even touch this guy. I remember when I was in college, Alex Jones was like, you could get socially isolated for even admitting that you've ever watched his stuff.
Right.
And
so all Alex Jones really wanted was some attention.
Yeah, and the thing is, by having Donald Trump on his channel was validating Alex Jones and saying you have a valid media source. And so that was, I mean, at the time, that was like it opened up the overt window by an incredible amount. And so, for Alex Jones to be kind of shilling for Trump, I get it in the sense that was like we were all, a lot of us were thinking it's over for Trump. He's never going to get elected. No one who's ever seen remotely associated just talking to Alex Jones is going to get elected. And yet it happened, You got to just grab life by the something.
By the balls, DJ? Is that
no, you gotta do it. Trump.
Grab him by the pussy.
Grab him by the swimsuit area.
We have this one guy who everybody was comparing to Trump. He's not nearly anything like Trump, but of course they just do that, in the same way that they compare people to Hitler. But he famously, like, what's that? Literally Hitler. Yeah.
Like for a while after Trump got elected, the term "literally Hitler" got used so much that it's kind of like a running joke. For like, oh, I was literally Hitlering.
It's so annoying because it's just so. I know literally has sort of changed definition.
First of all, don't give our hopes up. You know, they're like, oh, he's going to set up concentration camps for these people. It's like, don't give my hopes up, dude. Like, it wouldn't be that bad if that, like, you know, and then it was like, they were saying, oh, he's going to put gays in concentration camps and he's going to do all this horrible stuff. And I'm like, God, we should be so lucky, you know?
Good old DJ looking at the silver lining of concentration. Just so long as it's the right people.
Hey, just for the record.
Use wisely, this could work.
First of all, if I'm going to be a dictator, I'm not wasting state resources on camps. That's a waste of money, right? It's just a waste of time. Like, just you know, if you got undesirables in your society, just get rid of them.
Depends how much labor you get them to do, right? That could pay it off.
No, because then they start sabotaging, and then you've got, you know, they're not going to have the same free market incentives as regular people. I'm a tyrant, but I acknowledge the free market's power, right? You know, I'm not a communist, right? I'm a dictator. I'm not a communist, right?
Dude, you would love
fascist,
China.
Not a communist.
The safety dock, okay. Someone poking with
Doc, you hanging in there?
It's like that one episode where Rob just was like this cardboard fucking cutout.
Yeah.
What is that
Doc,
helmet
like,
he's wearing?
Jesus, what did I get myself into here?
Right?
So warm. So warm.
What is that helmet he's wearing? Is it a fire helmet? Or?
It's his COVID outfit.
I'm with unit number 5. That's all I gotta say.
That's all I gotta say.
Watching all the screens, who's reporting, where I gotta go tonight, follow-ups.
There you go. Nice.
So what has your schedule been like since schools are now receiving, I don't know, maybe 2/3 of their original funding because they're not actually being habitated by any students, and all the school food programs are either running on, I don't know, skeleton crews or not at all to give out free lunches to those who need it. I mean, what's the state of schools right now?
Sure. So I assume you're asking me that question, right?
Yes. I'm sorry. I should have directed that.
Yeah. No, good. So yeah, I did so first of all, yeah, anybody who is a bus driver, kitchen staff, support staff, you know, those folks have all been furloughed. I mean, because nobody's coming back to school. If your school's been shut down in your state, nobody's coming back this year.
Yep.
And so, you know, teachers are under contract through June 30th. And I did my last live stream a couple of days ago on this, and I broke down the funding model on schools because I used to do that. You know, I'm a retired school administrator. So, and half of the money comes locally, a little bit from the feds, about 10%, and then 40% from the state. So the big thing right now is all of these school boards, right? They've got to be looking at their contracts and saying, we're going to cut. I did the math. So I did multiple models, about 22% reduction this upcoming year, which is massive, right? Like nobody's ever dealt with that across the board. And they're not telling the staff yet. That's the thing. They're not telling the teachers, you're either going to have no contract the upcoming year, or we're going to reduce you. And we're also going to cut the days from 180 days to 140, which would be, again, a 22% reduction. But it's amazing to me because I have a lot of friends who are school administrators. I talk to them on a daily basis, and they just believe there's going to be a bailout, right? They're like, yeah, we're just going to wait because there's going to be something coming out from the state where they're going to plug the gap. You know, they're going to get some federal grant to give us, you know, and I'm like, no, there's no way in hell this will happen. And then also, you know, property taxes in my state fund a lot of education. So everything's shut down, right? And then you have what's called an annual meeting. That's where community members vote on your mill rate or how much local tax is. I'm like, they will force you to cut that in half. So I think a few people realize what's going on, and you know, so that boggles. It's a little mind-boggling because school administrators, need to forecast this stuff out. And I think they're just dragging their feet, thinking there's going to be a bailout. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think we're going to have this easy 22% cut. But yeah, what does it mean? They're scrambling right now. So what they're doing right now is trying to get lunches out to kids. They're trying to learn Zoom, right? Here's a 1-hour video. So teacher learn Zoom at home and put together something for your kids. It's pretty crazy. PBIS or PBS Kids is not a curriculum. You can't give a couple of websites and have people figure that that's going to be instruction. But yeah, they're taking buses and they're driving them around to parts of town as Wi-Fi spots, and then they're also ordering like routers and paying for Wi-Fi plans for families. But this is all short-term stuff. I mean, they're not anywhere prepared to deal with what's going to hit them in about 2-3 weeks when they have to start issuing contracts for fall, and they're going to say, we can't do it. Like, we don't have the money. All the stuff that comes due July 1st for the upcoming year. So I just see where nobody is dealing with reality in the education world. I haven't read one article about it. I've done the math. I did this for 20 years. I know how the system works, and they're just saying no. There's going to be a bailout. It'll never be allowed to happen. I'm like, yeah, it totally will. I mean, when 35% of our businesses don't open, people get a tax bill for $5,000 in December. They're going to mail it back, with a big frown drawn on it, and that'll be it. I mean, so yeah, I think this will be absolutely revolutionary and completely disruptive. But on the other hand, I think we're ready for more virtual education. I think this whole thing of going by grades, you have to go, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Screw that. It should be modules. We should be able to get, if you're good at coding, if you're good at whatever, get in there. I mean, God's sakes, don't have to take all these electives, and even college. Like I remember.
Athen wants to know, and it's a good question. You think tuition is going to go down?
I think it has to. Yeah, the universities will fight it, obviously, because they're taking a huge hit. University of Wisconsin 2 days ago in the paper said they've already taken $100 million hit, and they're not refunding tuition. I think it'll have to come down, because who's going to attend? I mean, who is going to attend if tuition doesn't take a steep cut? They're not going to. What's the incentive? Why the hell would you pay, tuition? And also now the universities are setting a precedence where they're not giving you back tuition, like the University of Wisconsin Madison system. So I think that whole model has to just be flipped. And the other thing is it's priorities, right, guys? So like around here, their big referendums passed, and they put in AstroTurf fields with jumbotrons and skyboxes for high schools. University of Madison, they're doing $100 million renovation at Camp Randall to put in luxury suites and all of that shit. I mean, come on. At some point, like, we got to get back to a real world economy that isn't based on these things, like sports ball, all of that stuff. I mean, it got so artificial, and it's just not sustainable. I mean, who's going to go to games at Lambeau Field this year? You have to buy your ticket in advance, right, to keep your tickets. And so I have friends, and they're like, are we going to pay the, $7,000 a year to keep our tickets or whatever, when we know that they could be canceled if force majeure and we wouldn't get a refund? Shit, no. I mean, you'll have, 10,000 people in a stadium of 80,000, with little spots they have to sit on. So I don't know. I mean, it makes me sound like bitter and all of that, and I really am not. I'm just a realist. And this stuff needed to change one way or another, and this is the change agent.
Now, you're looking towards the future, and I think that's awesome. But from what I can tell, and from what I can tell from a lot of industries, simply because just however old they are, a lot of times they have issues going forward. What percentage do you, even if do you think is legacy cost and pension for people who actually are no longer working in the profession? Is that being paid as far as the school budgets?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, and you're right; those are obligated costs. So one is the state pension, which everybody pays into as an educator, and then you're vested after 5 years. So that part, but a lot of districts have, as you said, post-employment benefits. So they're going to, if you retire at 55, they'll pay your health care till you're 65, or you'll get, some kind of, one-time payout of, whatever, 80,000, or whatever it is. But those are pretty significant. We had something called Act 10 in Wisconsin, which kind of reformatted a lot of those post-employment benefits about 9 years ago. So a lot of that stuff kind of got worked out. But again, we have a lot of people who've they were grandfathered in. So yeah, districts have millions of dollars in post-employment benefits. And of course, they can't default on those, right? They would have to go back and they'd have to raise their local property taxes, or basically what would happen is they would cut programming in order to maintain post-employment benefits for somebody that retired 5 years ago.
Yeah, I've always looked at, especially a lot of the larger school districts, Detroit, Chicago, LA, New York, Miami, to a certain extent. I'm talking the older cities, of the Rust Belt and also the coasts, where they started these large unified school districts, prior to a lot of education funding reform taking place, and their legacy costs are just astronomical. I mean, we're talking in many cases, unfunded liabilities where they're literally playing Ponzi in order to just pay a lot of the retirees the benefits that they were promised back in the 70s and the 80s. And I'm thinking, maybe at some point these school systems file for Chapter 11 and jettison those old costs in order to go forward in a way that you were describing earlier.
Yeah, we actually had one school district that did do that, and they were in the midst of that this year for that specific reason.
Chapter 9 bankruptcy to try and restructure its legacy costs. Yeah.
And we have 421 districts though. And I mean, it's ridiculous too. Like one district is 80 kids. It's on an island that you have to go 30 minutes out to this island, Washington Island, to get to. So, but yeah, you're right on. I mean, right now, if I'm a business manager, in most of these districts, you'd have post-employment benefits, legacy responsibilities, which are going to bankrupt you, just flat out. I mean, it was going to probably happen, sooner than later, but now it's sooner. Like it is just going to happen. If you're a Milwaukee, a Racine, Eau Claire, Green Bay, Madison, in Wisconsin, you're done. You're done. Your legacy costs will kill you.
Yeah, that's what I always worry about is contracting for benefits now that will ruin the system in the future. And I assume that all of these school districts are unionized and that they have collective bargaining agreements that control all of these particular aspects of everything that we're discussing at this point.
Yeah, they actually did up until that Act 10, which was in 2011. And then only 2 districts, I believe, are unionized, Madison and its neighboring Middleton, which are 2 wealthy districts in Dane County. But the rest don't have the same union protection in status that they did at a state level prior to this Act 10. But you do have districts that still vote to unionize. But it is looked upon differently. Yeah, the benefit models, if you were hired after 2011 in Wisconsin, you don't have the guaranteed post-employment benefits outside your state pension. So those type of things did get reformed. But right now, you still have a majority of people who have either retired in the last few years or they were grandfathered in, who are entitled legally to these generous OPEB benefits in addition to a state retirement pension plan, which is very generous.
Can the do they have the ability to strike in your state, or is that or are they assigned as a certain class of state employee?
Yeah, no, they could. It doesn't happen really much in Wisconsin, but yeah, I mean, it could happen, sure.
I like the information, Doc, and I appreciate it. It's just
I appreciate the question. Yeah,
seeing it across the country, vary from place to place and state to state. It's interesting to see how these are going to be reformed and why in a federalist system, everybody is saying, "Oh, the federal government will bail us out. The federal government will bail us out." And they either don't recognize that there's a vast number of laws that affect them at the state level, and also their funding structure is essentially formed by the state, not the federal government. And that, the 10th and 11th Amendment are pretty clear, and anything that's not, enumerated to the federal government should be left to the states, including education. So this whole reliance on the Fed, I think you're right.
Right.
They're pushing shit uphill with that.
Yeah, you've got it. And education from the feds is only 10%. I mean, again, it's not a big part of the budget for schools. And I've been calling it. I mean, every year you have to have this mill rate meeting, and mill is for every like $1,000 worth of property, you get taxed like $12. So if you have a $2,000 home, you get $2,400 in school taxes. That's like a simple math there. But these mill rates are set at an annual meeting, and then your citizens come out. Usually, like, anybody who's pro school goes up for that. I went through a ton of those as an administrator. 15 people in the crowd, and 13 vote yes, 2 vote no, and it's done. That's not the way it's going to be this year. I mean, those meetings, everybody's going to turn out. I mean, you have to prove that you live in town, so you're going to have to show, some form of identification that you own property so you can vote. But these districts are going to completely have to deal with the public that's extremely angry, extremely nervous, kind of like TJ was saying. Everything's off. I mean, if these people they're not able to pay their bills, and some of that, again, whatever the situation, they're in a dire situation, and their school district is wanting to pass a mill rate that's the same or an increase. They're going to be like, no, cut that 50%. You have to cut that from $12 to $6. If you don't do that, they can keep voting it down. They can vote no. The school can't override it. So there is this reckoning which is about to happen, and that it's going to be severe. It is absolutely going to be severe. I think a few people know about it. I mean, like people I've worked with, they know, but again, they're always holding out hope of like, nah, it's at the last moment. Somebody's going to swoop in. No, the state's going to come in with a bailout package. No, they're going to come in with some legislation. And I'm just looking at this saying, no, I mean, in this circumstance, this will happen. There isn't going to be this bailout, this restructuring, whatever. And look at the homes that are going to be for sale. I mean, look at the other thing in school districts is they do these tax delayed districts. So they might bring in a Walgreens or something, and then the city pays for the water and sewer in the parking lot and all of that stuff. Bring in business. And then they don't tax them
for a set period of time.
Yeah, they don't tax them for like 15 years. So all of these places that were kind of booming, like we're growing, now they have these places that are laying off, and they're not getting taxes for the schools and for the community, for the fire department, police, water, sewer, all of this stuff. So it's a huge cascading mess, and people are not willing to live with austerity measures in schools. They just totally won't accept it. It's mind-boggling. It is absolutely mind-boggling. But again, it's a reality people are going to have to deal with because there'll be no other choice.
I think one thing people are really overlooking is the long-term effect of this. Like in this country, we have people saying, "Oh, when things go back to normal, I'm going to do this and this," and it's kind of naive because it's not really going to go back to normal. Some things will be different permanently.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think, so many things will change, and that'll just become our new normal. A lot of people won't remember it either. They'll always kind of think it's the new normal. Like after 9/11, I mean, things changed.
I would like to see Corona-chan be the death to micromanagement, but I just know that some asshole is still going to try. Still going to be there trying to manage where you are, what you're doing between the hours of 8 and 5. And Lord knows most people can do everything that they need to do at their office job, in 2.5 hours, either
right
before or after lunch. And they're deluding themselves if they think that people are sitting in cubicles doing anything other than hanging out on Facebook or Twitter while they're waiting for assignments to come to their desk.
Oh, right. And I mean, also, does it make does it make sense to change? I mean, totally disrupt the school model. I mean, should we be able to say, hey, teachers, you're independent contractors, you have this many hours a week, schedule it out with your kids. You're going to have some sessions at night from 6 to 8, 2 nights a week, and other mornings you get off. Actually, to me, that would be a pretty decent model. But so, yeah, I think that, and then, yeah, who's going to monitor that from an administrative level of that you're logging in, that you're keeping your hours, and I don't know. It's all going to be weird, but this whole thing too of trying to sell like an 8 to 3 school day, I would be very surprised if we didn't have schools this fall that were not still virtual. I've been hearing that from a university level, that from different faculty members saying in closed door meetings are being said, prepare this fall for a continuation of virtual learning. And of course, dorms are going to be shut down. There's no university that's going to take that risk of bringing people in fall if there could be a second wave. No way in hell. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but I think these are really interesting discussions, and for all of us, that have a vesting in taxes and how being a steward of our tax dollars, to go to your city meetings, to go to your school board meetings when they're setting your tax rates. See what they're talking about. I mean, raise your hand, get up to the podium, look through the documents and give your 2 cents. Just don't let this get voted through.
Yeah, I'm just, some of this is very hypothetical, and some of these questions I don't think are meant to necessarily be answered. But I don't even think we understand the field that we're going to necessarily put our players on and play on yet.
Yeah.
That is the thing. It's the shifting sands. It's the it's the lava at the 50-yard line that you don't see yet. You just don't know what your players are going to look like, and what their skill set is, and even what the field looks like to play this game yet. And I think that's the thing that is also bothering everybody the most too, is that they don't have a clear picture of what it's going to look like going forward. And adaptability sometimes comes with being able to see what it is that you're adapting to. And right now,
you're right.
Serious degree of uncertainty that goes along with all of this.
So I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a business owner in Santa Barbara, and he was sharing that to him this event is a Chernobyl, right? He lived through the 80s in the U.S. Started his business out back then, and so 9/11, 9/11 happened, and then it was done, and then we moved on. But when Chernobyl happened in '86 in Russia with the nuclear power plant meltdown, like in the U.S., I remember that we didn't know, were we going to get radiation over here? Was it going to get in the crops? Cameras like Kodak, they thought their film, they wouldn't be able to make film because radiation would interfere with the film for cameras. So like that was going to be shut down. I mean, all of this shit. And then like the Eastern, Europe going to have high cancer rates? So we had a period of 3 to 5 months where people were kind of like, what is going to happen? Now that's before social media and a lot of this information being able to be ubiquitous and quickly circulate around the world. But to me, this is as similar to Chernobyl than anything I guess I've experienced in my basically 50 years of life.
It's interesting you say that, Doc, because I was not alive during Chernobyl, and you made a really very good point just now about social media, about the spread of information and the fact that anybody basically can spread that stuff. That's why I'm really fascinated, and I'm very curious and interested in people's takes like yours about this, because something that's really important about what we're going through is context. Like we don't have context for the last 30 years of anything. I mean, in my state, something I've talked to people in my own state about this. This is on par with the Mount St. Helens disaster. I don't know.
1980, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much people know about that outside of Washington State, but not the entire state, but there were certain sections of the state where you couldn't go outside because of the volcanic ash that just covered everything.
Was that an eruption?
Yeah, it was a volcanic eruption. I've hiked Mount St. Helens, not what it is now, because it blew its top, but
it was basically a Vesuvius event without the population. Essentially, the whole side of the mountain exploded and turned to complete airborne ash. I mean, it was
shit.
It was crazy, and for people who lived in that area, it was like not directly, but who kind of saw the ash, they thought it was a nuclear explosion. They thought the Russians were invading or something like that. And so,
Christ.
Yeah, they thought that there was like a nuclear explosion, and it was red.
Duck and cover.
Yeah, exactly. So, but a lot of places in eastern Washington, which is where all the ash and stuff blew, you couldn't go outside for a long time because there was just so much of it. It covered everything. And so we just haven't had anything like that in 30, 40 years.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on the impact this will have on international relations? So, like one example I could give is, Brexit. Everyone was, the media was harping on about how horrible Brexit is. But now after this, I don't think anyone's going to want to rejoin the European Union from Britain, or even, even the souring of relations between particular countries.
I personally think it's going to lead to economic nationalism, like the concept of an autarky, which is where you have as many critical resources being produced or manufactured within the nation as possible. Now, I don't think that that's going to be completely feasible for a lot of countries, but for the United States of America, that is complete. Everything, 20 years ago, that was kind of a pipe dream, but then we're now the number one we produce the most oil now in the world. Like, we don't need, we produce so much, like, we are a...
Are you following the oil price war that's apparently trying to knock out the US oil dollar?
Yeah, I don't know what's up with the whole fracking thing and the oil bust boom stuff, but I'm just saying, like, America, if we wanted to, we could become an autarky, right? Where we don't rely on other countries. Like, bring all the manufacturing jobs back from China. And good freaking Lord, if I was a political advisor of any political campaign, I'd be like, economic nationalism, protectionism, you will win against anybody in this next election.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
You will slaughter them. It's not even going to be close. And also, if you are pro border control or immigration control, you will win every debate by just saying, how many people infected with COVID-19 are you willing to allow into our country undocumented? Game over. It doesn't matter how many people you say. You can do one, you can say 1,000. It's over. You're like, oh, so how many American people are we going to allow to die? And how many areas of this country are we going to shut down all the businesses because you allowed one person to cross our border undocumented?
I think Trump's got this one fairly easily, to be honest.
Here's the thing. Regardless of how anybody feels, I think somebody left the chat.
Yeah, I think Rob's got to go on Nick's show. And
Gotcha.
And then also Jack's show at midnight.
Oh, gotcha. So my whole thing is, if you're an economic nationalist and you're pro border controls, this is like, you couldn't have a better situation right now.
Yeah,
I can see China really taking advantage of this too, like to propel their Belt and Road projects. So all those little countries in Southeast Asia, they're going to be hurting so hard. So China's going to be able to jump in and just buy a bunch of land real cheap.
I'm trying not to be a pessimist, but one way to hide unemployment figures is by drafting people in the military. And the problem with that is you got to give them something to do. Like, I don't know, fight a war. And America's military, you can have a bunch of fat asses just press buttons, press this button for this drone and we lose 1,000 drones. Great. There's no body bags for a drone.
Looking at the economic protectionism angle, TJ, I think the only thing that would be difficult to immediately implement something like that is just the skill gap, where we're using a lot of cheap but skilled labor to manufacture a lot of the products that we use.
Right.
Also the parts.
Yeah, I think that also ties then too to the docs problem of, well, how do we retool to teach people for the future? Well, we should be bringing these jobs back and teaching careers at a certain point and bifurcating our system, I think, of education to those who are,
under a war,
intellectually minded versus, trade minded, and have those skills taught to people here who could produce those products. But you were interjecting, TJ. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. I think two things. One, you're right. Under normal circumstances, when you create a wartime environment, one, you can get rid of a lot of people in the country. I'm not saying this is just purely amoral. It's just practical. You can get rid of a lot of people in the country who are not skilled. Two, you can easily train people to do basic stuff. Like they can get women. If you can get women to be riveters, right? You can get the average Joe to be do the basic job in a manufacturing plant, right? Like you can train them basically, and then you say, we're going to give you a good living wage. The business cannot leave this country, so they don't get to threaten to leave if they don't like what's going on, right? The third thing is I would say when you create a wartime situation, people are willing to accept so much more change, and so they're willing to embrace so much more change than you would think otherwise. So a lot of people, I could easily see the government saying, you're unemployed, we're going to give you these jobs that used to go to low-skilled people in China, and it doesn't pay as much as your old job, but you know what? You are making America great again. You are making us independent. You are heroes. You're going to get praise in the media. You're going to get praise from the government. You're going to they could go as far as to say you're going to be tax exempt for 5 years. Right. You'll never have to file an income tax as long as you're working these jobs. I mean, the things that governments can do during a wartime situation, they can do anything. They can say and do anything, good or bad.
So let me build on that. So TJ, I mean, are you what if there's a return of the Civil Conservation Corps, but kind of in the model that you're describing?
Yeah, I mean that would be.
The 1930s.
I'm dealing with the world that I live in, not the world I want to live in. Like before, there's some libertarian type guy who's like, "Oh, TJ sports music." No, I live in the world that I live in.
TJ wants the WPA.
If that happens, we'll be lucky, because I prefer that I prefer people not kill other people, right? I'd prefer to not get into a war with China. That is possible, and I think that's the government is going to provide unemployed people with jobs. If for no other reason, they can print the money to pay for those jobs, and then that can hide the
right.
unemployment numbers.
Right.
Right. So then they can say, "Oh, we cut unemployment," but I mean. I remember reading through a history book. They were talking about Nazi Germany. They're like, "Oh, Hitler improved the economy by, unemployment fell." It's like, yeah, he stuck everybody in the military. Like that's not he didn't solve their economic problems. He just conscripted, so many people. The same thing with the United States, where the Great Depression was still going on until the late 30s, and then they stuck, 500,000 men in what was it, the 1940 draft or whatever it was. But then World War II happened, and it's like, no, they still had rationing. You couldn't buy basic goods. Right. I still have my grandpa's coffee food stamps or rationing. Like you had to have a ration stamp to buy coffee. So it's just kind of ridiculous to be talking about that kind of stuff. But yeah, I see that as being a very strong possibility, because you don't lose, right? It's not a question of right and wrong in politics. It's a question of, are you going to lose or not? And if Trump does that stuff, he will not lose.
I think it's definitely an opportunity to revamp, at the very least, our infrastructure right now.
Yeah.
Would be the best time to do it. And, close ranks a little bit, figure out who our friends are on this side of the world, and just start building our roads and our bridges and our grid again.
Right. Well, here's the other thing is he has a context to get rid of foreigners. I'm not, people are like, oh, they want to have a reaction. Guys, I'm the weatherman. I'm telling you, there are clouds on the horizon. It may not rain, but I'm saying that if it rains, have an umbrella, right? That's all I'm saying. Like, he could say, jobs should go to Americans first so that they can have, employment. And if you're, it just, people don't really understand how quickly the environment and climate can change. Like, stuff that you were allowed to talk about. We think about the Japanese internment, which was, in my opinion, was atrocious because they were American citizens. They weren't, foreigners. These were innocent Americans, citizens who had done nothing wrong, no trial, no habeas corpus, no innocent until proven guilty. They were just forced to sell everything they had and go move to camps where they could have been killed. We don't, they didn't know that. The guys who put them on the buses didn't know that. And so that happened back in the 40s, and that Supreme Court case was not overturned, that upheld that decision by the president, was upheld for decades until just recently. So, in crises, presidents get to do pretty much whatever they want. I mean, go read about what Lincoln did during the Civil War. He issued the arrest warrant for the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He had governors of states removed from office and arrested. Like, presidents can do a ton of stuff because nobody's gonna. What are you gonna do? He's the commander in chief of the army, of the military, right? I'm not saying it's good. People confuse this. I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm saying I'm reading the terrain.
Right.
Korematsu is still technically good law, by the way. It's not overturned by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they issued an apology, but that was it.
Yeah, fair enough. I think there was a Supreme Court case where they said something to that. It's just like, but the thing is, during a crisis, what is the Supreme Court going to do? It reminds me of that line from Andrew Jackson, who said the Supreme Court, he was having the Cherokee removed from their land, right? And there was this famous Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court actually sided with the Cherokee. They said the federal government cannot remove them from this land. And, whatever you want to think of Andrew Jackson, in terms of his presidency, he had a famous line. He said, the Supreme Court has made a decision. Let them enforce it, right? Like, what are they going to do? The Supreme Court has no army. The president can call up troops when he doesn't like what's going on.
Do you guys think that there are any jobs that aren't coming back? I mean, is the gig economy dead?
Yeah, I think that there's a significant part of the economy that's going to go away forever. I mean, in a perfect world, it would be the cam girls, the e-thoughts,
Dude, that is booming right now.
Right.
I guarantee.
Yeah, it's just like, you know what the problem is? The problem is those girls, the moment civil order goes away, that all goes away, right? That's a risk.
Yeah, I mean, never underestimate the thirst of lonely men.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this is the thing that girls don't think about and men don't think about either, is that the moment civil order breaks down, the ordinary man who's competent with a gun, his attractiveness and value to the average woman goes up like, gold did back in 2011, like from, $700 an ounce to $1,900 an ounce. Like, his value
exponentially, of course.
Yeah, and so it's like, I'm just wondering how many women during this crisis period are starting to wonder, like, you know, maybe you know what? I'm trying to be an optimist, but I'm thinking that most women are just stupid. They're like men. They're stupid.
That's just most people in general don't have foresight. I mean, they're playing check.
They're learning the hard way right now not to live week by week. That's something.
Right. I'm trying to understand that thinking, like, and I'm not trying to like look down on other people because I got my own, you know, areas of life where I got a blind spot or whatever. It's like, how do you not think, you know, 2 weeks, let alone 2 years ahead of your life? It's like, if civil order broke down, and you know what I think the difference is? I don't have faith in the government. That's not my religion, but it is their religion. Like the idea that the government won't be there for them, they will never leave them, never forsake them. That is their religion. Government will always be there. It's like their God. It's their Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit. You know.
I've got something to build on. When you're done, bring me back to that because I got something to build on.
Oh, go ahead. That's kind of all I was going to say.
Okay, so what you're saying, TJ, it's I wrote about it in my book, and I refer to it as the transference dynamic, which the transference dynamic in the context of my book was take September 11th, 2001, Lower Manhattan, Battery Park. 500,000 people are evacuated by boat by this you know, rogue boat assembly of 150 tugboats, leisure boats, whatever.
Right.
They're rescued off of the island in 9 hours. Now, transference dynamic. So I worked with the Department of Planning of New York, and they studied who was evacuated, people in their 40s, and so they went back. When those people were growing up, they were told there were so many messages that the government was going to be there to protect you from the Soviet Union. And here's examples. So an attack, basically anything goes down, the government's going to step in and protect you. 1983, the movie The Day After, okay, that on ABC, that was really, it's nuclear war, with the Russians. Rocky 4, Rocky versus Drago, protagonist, antagonist. Our music, Sting, I hope the Russians love their children too, and just all of that. So when they went, here's the thing though, they went to Battery Park, they expected there to be a rescue, and that nothing was set, right? That just happened, that system developed. And I think we still have that mindset today. There's a lot of people who are just expecting this rescue force is going to come in the form of the government.
Right.
And really on 9/11, that wasn't a government rescue. Those were people who just came together from Admiral Loy of the Coast Guard gave one order. He said, hey, if you got a boat and you can contribute, come out and do it. And people figured it out on their own. So I think this whole thing too, and you're right on, I believe you're right on with this, is people are convinced of this transference dynamic. The government's going to come out and help us.
Right.
And when it doesn't happen, when it gets to be too big of a situation where that actually won't manifest, then they're going to have no back. They're not going to look to themselves. How can I make this work? You're not going to have the victory gardens, right? You're not going to have people planting little gardens in their yard. They're just going to completely collapse.
Right. Well, the other thing is like, when you realize that no one, I mean, literally, guys, look at my shirt, no one is coming. Like, that's my mindset. No one is coming. No one is coming.
Assume they're not.
It's up to us. That's kind of what that's what the bottom of the t-shirt says. No one is coming. It's up to us. And the point of that is, that in a crisis, you don't get to do not turn around and say, well, when's the government going to come and save me? When's someone who's going to come and save me? No one is coming to save you. No one. For people who are watching, do you ever remember that line from the movie Argo where they're having that conversation inside the embassy and all the women are like, oh no, the government's going to come and the army's going to come, and the one guy says, no one is coming. No one is coming. We take this exit onto the street now. We get out now. No one is coming, right? And it gets me so frustrated when people just sit around waiting for someone to save them when they could have saved themselves. It's you get to the conclusion that you have to leave them behind because they're so stupid. They will die rather than save themselves. I mean,
I had enough saved up just to last me a few months, but even that, I'm thinking now, like, fuck, that wasn't enough. But then I know people who who were living, check to check, week to week, and they're they're kind of okay now because the government's bailing them out now. But what's going to happen 6 months down the line when the economy tanks? Even if things do get back together, that's
right.
something they don't have.
And the frustrating part is like, like myself. I'm going to speak on behalf of myself. I've prepared. I've been preparing for something like this for years, right? I've made preparations. I've made contingencies. Other people I know have not. And when that moment of truth arrives, they're going to look for someone to basically drop their problems on. And you don't want to be that guy because it's not fair. It's not fair for as someone who prepared for this, who had the insight, who had the knowledge, who had the courage to look at the reality of the situation and say, I got to prepare, right? That meant you weren't spending your money on stuff that you couldn't afford. And you were saving it, you were putting it away. And then other people who didn't save their money or at least didn't prepare want to dump their problems on you, right? Because they know you prepared, because you were talking about it. You were trying to warn them. And their whole underlying thought was, well, I don't have to make any plans because I can just dump it on you. Because what are you going to do? And then they don't realize, well, you didn't listen to me then. You're not going to listen to me now. So, stay away. Like, I don't know.
Well, I think part of it too, TJ, is that people are conditioned now to more of a reactive than proactive mindset. And when shit hits the fan, it's generally unprepared because most people live bouncing from kind of safe moment to safe moment throughout their lives. There really isn't anything that can really murder you in, first world Western society, even if you screw up horribly, particularly if you're a woman. I mean, no one's going to let you, starve in the street if you're a 6 and under 30 years old. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Some
never seen a hot homeless chick.
That would never mean either. And the point is that it's either going to be daddy government or some dude is going to save that person, because that's just the way the world works. And, at some point in time, maybe people are going to have to close ranks and pick who they're going to save. And the proactive people are going to be angry at those who didn't prepare. I mean, you're familiar with the ant and the grasshopper story, right? Yeah,
that's exactly my point. Is like people who prepared, like my fear, this is kind of a fear I have, everybody's afraid of something. My fear is that the people who didn't prepare, who and more importantly, not that they didn't prepare, they squandered their money. They didn't spend well. They didn't invest. They didn't make hardship during the good times, right? They're going to drop their responsibilities onto the people who did, who spent the good years actually preparing for winter.
Well,
right?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, the only question I could ask you then, TJ, is that are you willing to accept that burden of performance for the rest of the assholes, or are you going to take Rob's position and just, let them burn and
let them burn?
I'm at the point, like, I'm trying to be a little careful with what I say on a live stream, but I'm totally in Rob's camp of, I will preach the message, and he who has an ear, let him hear. But he who turns a blind eye and a deaf ear to what I have to say, don't come to me on the day of reckoning and expect mercy, because we've passed that point. But here's the problem with most people. Their assumption is, oh, he wouldn't possibly turn us away, so we don't have to listen to him now. He wouldn't possibly. It's like, yeah, I will. I won't just turn you away. I'll have you run away because I got a gun. Skedaddle. Go back to your place and starve. You didn't make good decisions. Like, we have to have consequences now at some point in this. I don't know. Vince, what do you think? Not for nothing. Fundamentally, people
Not for nothing. Well, we don't live in a state of emergency or crisis like in our normal daily lives. We just don't. We're soft. Not everyone here, but in general, we are soft.
Right.
We're weak. We want our Netflix. We're coddled. We have daddy government giving us everything. So when this kind of shit goes down, that's why you see there's this quick turnabout to conservatism. You're not hearing anything from the feminist camp. You're not hearing anything from any other like ism or ist or these little bullshit kind of like, I have nothing. Life is going well.
It's all
I need
power.
Yeah,
I need power dads, the pulpit, and sun hats right now.
Exactly. It's like I need. It's like all right. During the normal course of life, people need something to jar themselves out of their own tepid bathwater of mediocrity. They need some kind of galvanizing action to do something. They don't have that, so they create shit to be bothered about. Well, now there's something to be bothered about. So this like little fake shit that they created to keep themselves interested and something to do. Look, wait a minute. I knew that wasn't reality, but I was doing it. Now now here's reality kicking me in the fucking balls or in the fucking cunt. So this other stuff I was doing, that's fake. That's not real. Don't look at that. Now let's push that. Let's do this. Now we see all these libtards going out trying to get guns. You don't hear anything about gun control. You hear nothing about wage gap. You hear none of this bullshit because people are fucking scared now.
Where's David Hogg?
Exactly. These type of people, you're hearing nothing from them because all that shit was just people looking for crap to be bothered about. You're not seeing that now. Now it's like, oh fuck, reality is here. I'm not prepared. Run out, buy all this shit. Let me grab my gun. Let me do all this, and it's insane. And then the people that, like TJ said, the people that are prepared are just like, oh well, this is just another day. Just calm down. So, and that
the difference is really stark. Like I live in a rural area, so I live in I'm currently staying in the most remote part of the country, or one of the most remote parts. And I was talking to a friend who lives in the biggest city, and he said everybody's freaking out. They're shouting at each other. Everyone's having fights at the supermarket. Whereas down here, everyone's already got their firewood. They've already got their their venison in a freezer that they hunted.
Yeah.
Chaos in Auckland, help.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, this has been fantastic, but we're coming up on over the 2.5 hour mark, so I want to cut it short so people can go do what they need to do, and I can go to fucking bed. So I'm tired.
Yeah, I gotta get the doc in touch with my my superintendent of schools. He literally lives 3 or 4 doors down. So I'll
really, yeah. No, I mean, I'd be glad to do it, and I have a lot of friends who are superintendents, and we have, off the record conversations of just making sure, they want to do the right thing, right? These are good people, but there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of unsettled, nature of what they're dealing with. So, I'm really glad, to help people out.
Yeah, I just always see the problem of the accounted for money kind of sitting there like a turd in the punch bowl, It never goes away. It just kind of sits there, and you keep filling the punch bowl up with that, those unfunded mandates and pensions and other turds just keep floating in there.
That's the worst kind of punch, man.
Wonderful image. Yeah. All right. So Alec and Doc and Chess, thanks for joining us. It's been
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing me in. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll have you guys on again. Absolutely. And we'll get some more people in here as well. So everyone who has joined us, everyone who is still in the chat, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. And thank you for joining this random Masculine Geek Friday podcast. But we'll be back again on our normal Wednesday broadcast. So get ready for that. Stay tuned. And if you haven't joined, you signed up for the newsletter, get off your asses and do so. No one else is doing what we're doing. And in order to find out, you need to sign up. So Rob is not here, TJ, so you want to go ahead and give the spiel?
Well, you can go to robsays.something. You'll figure it out.
Well, a little bit endorsement there, TJ. I don't even know the guy's website, but okay.
And then you can go to tjmartinell.com, when you feel heat coming around the corner.
There you go. Yeah. You want to go to robsays.net.
That's what I was going
That's what you're trying to get to. Now, Doc, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, safetyphd.com. And if you can just go into YouTube right now and subscribe to my channel, I'd appreciate it because, the membership's been climbing. I've got some really good live stream stuff I've been starting to do here in the last couple of weeks.
Cool. Excellent. Alec, is there anything you want to plug? Anywhere people can find you?
Not at this point, man. I just created this account to shoot the shit with guys like you, and on Twitter I've got I think you're my only follow events, so it's not really a marketing effort for me. But if people want to chat, man, just jump on Twitter. It's just Alec.
Everybody throw their Twitter handle in the private chat, and I'll throw it up.
Sweet.
Yep. TJ, everybody knows you. I should have clarified. Everyone but TJ.
I should actually double check mine. I don't even know if that is my Twitter handle, but
that isn't even my Twitter handle. I got it wrong.
TJ is like nuts at netzero.com.
That's funny.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's I'll post.
So there's that.
Y'all gonna be a sissy.
There's Alex.
There we go.
Okay, let me redo it.
Yeah, maybe down the line, but I'm still a lowly student at this point, so.
Gotcha. Nothing wrong with that. All right, so like that. Let's get Power Dad in there. Hang on. Let's chest these. Zero Dad. And last but not least, Safety Doc. Sassed. If you want to, you guys want to throw your Twitter in the chat, go right ahead. Thanks, Russell, and thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. I did not forget you. See. All right, everyone. Have a good weekend. Enjoy. We'll have everyone on again and then some, and look out on our website for upcoming events. Go do that. One of the best websites out there and one of the best shows on the internet. So
stop flexing, TJ.
I know, right? He's like, look at my guns. All right, gentlemen.
All right, see you guys later.
Have a good night.
Okay, guys.